Morning, everyone. How are you doing this morning? Good. How many people have been to the Henry Ford in Dearborn? Sign hands. Oh, good. All those others, you got to make it. You got to come to Dearborn. So one of the things I wanted to talk about very briefly to set up this conversation about the Thea case study is who we are. Henry Ford was actually constructed as an idea of Henry Ford himself in 1929. It was not a museum or attraction, it was a school. So the whole idea is these kids would go to school in this fantastic place with historic structures and collections that cover the American experience. The idea was to teach children learning by doing and to inspire people to be ingenious and innovative. And that's what we do today. Our mission statement really hits this home. Our action that we do every day with the staff, Cynthia, our terrific general manager for the Rouge factory tour, and the other staff at the Henry Ford, focuses on inspiring a new generation of innovators. And we do so with a collection. So we do so with our campus and our stories. But we also try and do so by bringing the past forward and being relevant. That's extremely important for who we are and what we're trying to accomplish, and hopefully our audiences. So I wanted to give you a little bit about the Henry Ford with this video.
Want to get closer to the real-life adventures and drama of American people, places, and moments than you ever thought possible? What if someone told you there's a place where people from all over the world come for unforgettable experiences that spark new ideas for tomorrow? A place to gain perspective, get inspired, and make your own history. What if someone told you there's a place that's as vast, diverse, and powerful as America, yet it's as familiar and accessible as your own neighborhood? What if this place, the greatest gathering of everyday genius ever assembled, created by one of the greatest visionaries the world has ever known, could awaken the dreamer, maker, and doer in you? What if you could enter a world of amazing inventions and daring visionaries and sit in the very seat where Rosa Parks defied segregation? What if you could capture the power of that moment and take it with you just down the hall to experience some of the most powerful stories in American history? What if you could spend some time in a place where yesterday feels like right now? Where the world's first R&D lab, in which Thomas Edison gave the world light, is right around the corner from the workshop where the Wright brothers gave us wings. What if you could walk down the street to discover that a place where Abraham Lincoln practiced law is just a block away from the home where Noah Webster wrote the first American dictionary? And what if you could catch a ride in the car that changed the world in which we live in? Even visit the home of a farm kid who grew up to put the world on wheels? What if you could put yourself at the center of sheer manufacturing might and encounter the technology of tomorrow, today? And what if you could take in a film in a giant screen digital theater? Yeah, it's almost impossible to imagine that all of this is in one place. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or how you get here. You've simply got to get here. Connect to what moves you and take it forward at the Henry Ford.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things that you saw, of course, is the Rouge factory tour. And I want to stress right away, we're not Ford Motor Company. We're a private nonprofit that was started by Henry Ford. And like I said, it started as a school in the mid-30s. It opened up to the public. And now 1.7 million people come a year. one of the things we did in thinking about being relevant is how do we bring that innovation to everyday life? And in our region, the Detroit, southeastern Michigan area, we were talking about automotive history. In 2001, Ford Motor Company had an idea, and Bill Ford Jr. to actually build the Ford Rouge factory tour and a new assembly plant, a new sustainable idea. And at that point in time, we contracted with Christian Lachelle and Bob Rogers, BRC, to actually do that job and build the Ford Rouge factory tour. And we operate it today as a museum on that manufacturing site. So if you think about an attraction, this is all your world, right? About 5 years, 7 years, you want to update things, make sure the production values are going. So that would have been for us when we opened up in 2003 to be 2008. What happened in 2008? Yeah, and especially in Detroit, right, with the auto companies, not a lot of money to spend. So we didn't do that update. So in 2014, January, the experience is still the same, still operating quite well, but models are starting to change a little bit. And at the the Detroit Auto Show, North American Auto Show, Ford executives announced a new idea in technology for the F1, and that's delivering an F-150 with an aluminum body. This was to come to reality. And in 1 year's time, they were going to bring that to the auto show. So Ford executives called us and say, hey, it's time for a change. Let's do something before the auto show. Now, what if you got that phone call and you had 9 months? So I made a phone call, and I called my friend Christian Lachelle, who actually was part of the original team, and Bob Rogers. And we said, we want to update this. We want to do all new interactives, media. We need to really match what's going to be coming out next year. And oh, by the way, the message is not about sustainability manufacturing, for the future. It's about innovation and 21st century manufacturing. So Christian picked up the phone, and I said to him, hey, Christian, I see on your website it says the Henry Ford, previous client. And I said, can you come back and work for us again? And so now I'm going to let Christian and Cynthia tell you that story.
Great. Thank you, Christian. So yeah, the phone call rang, and this was the challenge, right? So we had essentially this 9 months to get the whole project open. Luckily, we had a great sort of starting place because we had an existing tour and attraction. But the call in March, and then we had to be open. I mean, everything that worked. So what you're going to see here is really going at high speed, working with a great team. None of this ever happens alone. There are a lot of people in this room as we go through this project and sort of a little bit of the case study of some of the people who helped us bring this to life. So the big idea, the first thing was, all right, Christian, if that's the case, we have 9 months. How fast can we get on a plane? I think we were on a plane within a couple of days. And we sat down and immediately started to talk to Ford Motor Company. And really it was an innovative new truck that they're developing. The new F-150 has about 100 unique patents. It's all aluminum, a lot of new technology. So we needed to spend time with Ford Engineering. And this is the Ford Engineering team that put that package together. It's an amazing, amazing team. And the next thing we needed to sit and discuss was, who designed this great truck and what was the inspiration around it? Because we knew we wanted to drive through sort of innovation, that whole idea of design and science and technology, and we knew that we want to sort of bring sort of science and technology to life for 21st century manufacturing. So we spent a little bit of time here with Gordo, who works for Ford Design, and he's the head of the F1 program. Well, he started running us through his decks, and he said, our inspiration for this truck was this. And I said, all right, we can work from that. That's fine. We kind of know this property, and actually, when you look at the styling of the new F-150, you'll start to see some fun kind of cues and little visual sort of details that I think were drawn from the Iron Man from the Iron Man movies. So we took that as a couple of things. First of all, even if you watch the great Iron Man movies, it's really fueled by people and making the future. So that was sort of the essence that we wanted to sort of get our sort of framework around and start to think about the theme that would hold this whole project together. But in addition to that, it was really about, we're all driven to innovate. When you look at the Henry Ford and the mission, and you saw the video, and you see all these great places, the Village and the Rouge, we need to make sure all these things work together in the service of telling a great story around innovation. So that became our sort of our guiding post, and we started to we didn't walk, we ran the entire way. So on the approach, in the actual, this is a little bit of an outline of the the factory tour building that attaches to this very large manufacturing complex. The project that we're talking about here is really this theater that was already in existence, but we had to refurb it completely. Basically, it's an 8-minute show cycle. We're doing a 6-minute show. We're running that 4 times an hour, 100 seats, so 400 an hour on that. And then, of course, we had all this great inspiration that we started to look at in terms of technology and design and sort of getting something that we wanted to make it exciting and great for kids. There are a lot of students who come through the Ford and through the Rouge, and we wanted to make sure that they were just jazzed about what was going on with manufacturing and innovation. So we started playing around with concepts and started thinking about ideas for how to bring this to life. And we said, well, wouldn't it be great if we could actually 3D print a vehicle in the room and basically let that sort of magically happen. So many kids know about 3D printing, they're using, but let's do it at a scale that they've never seen before. And then we could bring that to life and start to project on that vehicle in a way that would become very dynamic and unusual and sort of build the truck literally in front of them, from the innovation, from the wiring right down to the aluminum body, and actually assemble this vehicle right in front of them in that room. And we do that also with some robots, which we had no idea where we were going to get them or how they were going to happen, but we figured, well, we got to have robotics because kids just absolutely love robotics and adults love robotics, and this is part of the key thing with American manufacturing. So making the experience, we took that concept, we spent some time with the team, felt like we had a good sort of foundation on that. Ford really loved it. So we started running and refining that, figuring out how we're going to make this truck appear in the room, refining sort of also the storyline. We had to do all the filming in this period as well, so we needed to have a great emotional arc with this experience. You know, there needed to be sort of a seed of inspiration, you know, where these ideas come from, and then really bring them to life through the engineering and through the whole manufacturing process in a way that would be scored beautifully. So we worked with David Kneiper, who did a wonderful musical score for us. He did our first show, and also figuring out where we're going to shoot and how we're going to get these things done in the time frame we had. This is the theater, so we started to work with a variety of different groups trying to figure out both our contractors and on our design team to sort of repurpose some of the elements, but then to completely blow it up. So we literally ripped the whole guts out. We have a video we'll show you of sort of making of, where we sort of stripped the theater back to kind of its clean state, rearranged things, and then sort of rebuilt it with all new technology. There's about 11 projectors that we use in this theater to make the thing to come to life. So as we start to refine the design, we couldn't put the truck in the middle of the room, you know, a lot of safety, and plus we did figure out we could get these robots, which we'll talk about in a second. But this was one of the concept images for how we wanted to sort of 3D print the truck in the room. And then sort of how we would bring the robots up at just the right moment. We worked with one of our partners on that, which was AES. They're a great group here in Southern California. They helped us figure out how to hide the truck, how to reveal it at just the right emotional moment, and also how to make it disappear right in front of visitors' eyes. So they were a great group on that. On the media and technology production side of things, we did work on a lot of innovative filming. Today, you know, we do a lot of media. We do a lot of films in our experiences. But what's great now in the world of filmmaking is that we have all these small cameras. And so our team was just like, okay, let's get a bunch of small cameras, start working them. We created custom rigs. So in some of our driving scenes, we actually developed rigs that we would use GoPros in a whole new series of sort of configurations because we had to make it work for our unique projection and geometry. But we also took, and I don't know if they'll let us tell us, but basically we took GoPros and we would sit there with the engineering team on like a robotic line, and we'd attach a camera to one place where the engineers thought, I think we could get a camera on there. We may kill it, but let's run it through the entire robotic production line, which is basically like a half mile of robotics, and see if we can ding this thing. And we'd watch this thing go through, and it was like just missing by millimeters in some cases. But we were able to throw these cameras into all kinds of places we could never do that before. But today we live in an age where we have these small cameras, we can really work with that. So that allowed us to do some really innovative filmmaking. We also had to make this truck feel great and real in the room. So that required an incredible amount of projection mapping. And that's even from a reflection standpoint and figuring out, once we built it, then how to sort of reveal all this new innovative technology that's happening in a visual way that moves at speed. So these are some of the early tests that we did, and we worked with, we had a great partner on this, TechMD, who did our technology for the project. We did little mock-up tests in their offices, trying to figure out exactly how we were going to get the projection to sync with the truck reveal, as well as when we were going to hit these robotics that would play into the final product. So that's some of the testing. And here's some of our micro testing that we did just to get the geometry right and figure out exactly how to unpack and create this sort of unique 3D sort of model that would sort of skin this vehicle. And all of that, once again, done at high speed. So the engineers are literally trying to build the truck, and we're trying to get the information out of them. So you can imagine in that 9 months, the push and pull, you literally had to go to their offices and sit and wait to get the material. And then the other thing we knew early on in the concept was it is about people, but robotics are incredibly interesting to so many people, and they are a big part of the manufacturing today, especially at the Rouge. So we didn't have time to do show robots. We wanted to do something that was real, and we talked with the plant managers, and they said, well, we think we could spare 2 actual industrial FANUC robots. They were not designed at all, they were not developed to do any sort of show sort of programming. But we made them, we sort of twisted and turned, and I think the robotic engineers who worked with us and programmers really liked the fact that we were pushing these robots in a new way, and they had to sort of sync. So it was very much on the programming side, a very sort of test and adjust little by little to make sure we didn't knock the entire truck off its axis or actually destroy it or so forth. So this is some of the robotic positioning. They're hidden, and then they reveal themselves in the show, and then they come to life. So we wanted to make that happen. We also knew that the projection's great, but when you talk about 3D printing, you talk about laser welding for aluminum, because you're actually laser welding everything. We wanted to actually augment that with additional laser hits, so we could not only just have the projected media, but also bring the media to life in even more of an energetic way at just the right moments to sort of bring that, so sparks through sort of lasers or welding an edge with the projection. So the sequence of robotics, this form, the modeling, and these sort of laser hits at the right time sort of really work in combination to bring that story to life. And these are the front of the robot, so we designed this sort of unique kind of, almost like a face, that would sort of allow us to sort of put different kind of tools on it and bring them to life. We also worked with Manny Treason on the lighting design, which was amazing. Just getting little LED lights that were completely show programmable onto these robots in a way that would sort of augment and work with the media. So this is, when we talk about the lighting design, you can see some of the cues here that we're bringing in from that inspiration that was the inspiration for Ford, for the vehicle, that sort of edge lighting that would all be synced. We actually developed, in the same 9 months, we actually worked with a lighting company to do a custom fixture that had never been developed before for the floor. So when you get certain hits on the vehicle, you get that sort of spark, and then all of a sudden the whole floor ripples with light. And that's also hitting on the wash on the walls. So you get this really immersive moments. So that lighting was incredibly important. But there was no fixture that allowed us to do that the way we wanted to. So in that period of time, we R&D'd it, built it, and got it installed and programmed. And programming was fun. We spent a lot of time with the team. We had smart monkeys on a team. We talked about TechMD, AS, great sort of fabrication groups. Our Harley Ellis, who was our architect, our GC was fantastic. We just had a great team programming it. So the install went something like this. We just started working around the clock. I don't think we ever stopped. We shut down, and the thing is, we were on accelerated schedule because we had all these Ford executives coming for kind of an early release before the auto show. We had to be open in November, and the plant wasn't even open yet. So we were really just jamming to get this thing built. So final production, this is what it looked like when we got it up and running after 9 months. You can see some of the media and the robots there. This is some of the projection and the truck. And here's a little video to kind of let that come to life.
The idea of the Ford Rouge Factory Tour was always to continue and showcase the latest innovations and make connections to the past.
This is the truck that is going to change the industry, and we needed to have a theater that would match. they achieved it, both through the way that they did their filmmaking, as well as the way that they created new ways to film as they produced this show.
This show has to be as innovative as an F-150. The technology that's available to make this truck, which is really just a plain model, using lasers and the digital mapping that takes place to make these innovations just come to life.
So when those robots start up and they're moving around in this show, everyone sits forward, everyone's just on it, attracted, wanting to know what happens next. How do they do what they're doing? How did they get that in this show?
No signs or indications of how they were accomplishing it. It was again, a technological masterpiece.
They worked with Ford and climbed inside stamping presses, things that should never be accessible. They managed to climb inside of them and mount cameras places I didn't think was possible.
You're not just reading a label. You're not just looking at an object. You're immersed in a whole new paradigm of storytelling that's innovative.
Many of our guests are families and school groups, and we know it's important to have them walk out understanding the importance of science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics. They see it live in this show.
This is STEAM that's brought to life in a meaningful way for all visitors of all ages.
They engage in it, they're immersed in it. People get that little spark that makes them want to learn more. Then that experience keeps living beyond the experience of the theater itself.
So I've been with the tour since it opened, and I've been through that whole arc that Christian talked about kind of going through the economic Katrina and back out. So to be on the back outside of this and have people bursting into applause about every 9 minutes, and to pass what I like to call the toddler test when they didn't want to leave the theater and were waving back at the robots at the end, and the teenager test was pretty incredible. We saw it with reaction with the press. We hosted more press in the last year than I've ever hosted in my life. I talked to about 450 journalists last year. We also have seen just tremendous increase in tourism, with people wanting to come to Detroit to see this, to see the iconic industry. We had our best day ever. We had an original design day of 800 people in a day. We nearly doubled that, and we've done it multiple times. Our highest attendance in over a decade, best month ever. We've also hosted some pretty well-known folks along the way. We do this quite regularly. This one with Mr. Spielberg was quite special for us. School group engagement was a driving factor for us. We host at least 20,000 school kids every year, and we want them to engage in STEAM. And this theater meets that. We worked very, very quickly with a group of 20 teachers to help us with curriculum and ensure that we were on track. Some of our key takeaways: innovation in STEAM, absolutely. VIP engagement is very important for Ford Motor Company through this experience. And the F-150 production process. This truck, I said it in the film, changed the world. We have literally changed how all trucks will be built from here on out. Our competitors are trying to keep up. We wanted that to come to life. So just a couple of really quick ones for you. And
Can you tell the story really quick about the deaf students who came through?
So one of my moments where I actually teared up a little bit at work, soon after we opened, we had a group of deaf students come in. And this film was designed to have very little words in it for our international audiences. And it has, butt shakers and all sorts of crazy stuff going on around you. The group of deaf students at the end of the show stood up and clapped. They got the show, and they got it in their bodies. They got the show. And their teachers came out and they found my staff. They said, we have to talk to whoever built this, because how did you know that that was what this audience needed? It was incredible. And we hadn't thought of that, but it worked. So that, I'm going to leave us up on this and
Sure.
throw it to questions.
Yeah. Any questions on the project? Yes.
Our mic runners are running. They can do it.
So, having been an automotive designer for 8 years, the elephant in the room on this attraction is what happens when the model changes.
I'll
Right.
touch on that one.
Yeah, sure.
Part of our choice of 3D mapping was a very purposeful choice. We know that our next major change in this truck is coming in about a year and a half. We knew that we wanted to be able to change faster and to work with our partners at Ford to get that design data and work with our partners at BRC and figure out how to remap to meet those changes. So we designed a platform that is capable of doing that.
Christopher Stapleton, Virtual World Society. I have a question. When you're on time and on budget and forced to kind of meet those deadlines, but you're doing something that's never been done, doing the innovation, there is unpredictable results.
Yes.
And that's usually the things that get disappeared and squashed. How did you push through and make those creative leaps and get to the end result as you did? Challenges. What were the challenges in that?
Oh, yeah. Well, go ahead. You want to start?
Well, I would say the first thing is the budget was what? You know, because it was an idea, to your point. It was, we needed to do something, and so we quickly scaled a concept, then we created the budget. And kind of real time did all this stuff. The biggest thing was the change of the storyline. The Bill Ford Jr. storyline was sustainability, and this was becoming 21st century manufacturing about the truck. So our challenges were, one, showing benchmarks to Christian, and Christian did this with Ford Motor Company about other attractions, other corporate attractions, and trying to get them to understand what could be done in this way. The second one was the reality of bringing Christian back in BRC is that there was not a lot of time to hem and haw about this. We had to go forward on it. And so we even flew down here working with Christian, looking at videos and saying, could we have these words put in or these concepts? And it was a fast-paced, iterative motion. But Ford was happy and we were happy at the end. And ultimately, the biggest thing is our guests are happy. You want to add to that?
I would add to that, I think, taking on a project like this in 9 months, it takes a lot of, I think, stepping off the ledge together as a team. In the Navy, we used to call it sort of walking into the surf zone, with your arms linked together. It's one of these things where you have to have a team that's worked together. The great thing is we have a great relationship with Christian and Cynthia and the team at the Henry Ford, and that helps because we just know how to work together. Also, we have a great team at BRC. We've got partners that we've worked with for years. Our team, Philip and Chris and Chloe and Edward, and our entire design team, Bernard. We just know how to do this thing, and we had a team that was ready to go, was really sort of seasoned coming off of some other projects. So we had the bandwidth, the capability, and we could move at speed. And then we had great partners. That's the way you do it. And we had to pick things early and just go. But part of that is a little bit of gut. There's a very little contingency in the plan.
And a lot of trust.
A lot of trust.
A lot
That's
of trust.
Really it.
And the last thing I would say as we run out of time here, learning how to speak to the people that need to give you the access. So my role on this project was oftentimes literally sitting in engineers' offices or going to the line and talking to the people who build this truck to negotiate. And so getting this project described in words that they wanted to bring their children was what got us in the door and was what got us done in 9 months.
Couldn't have done it without Cynthia. Not even a chance.
there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Woo!